The Warriors of Chaos can be a faction deduced to the simple understanding of might makes right, or can be as complex as a million little decisions tethered to a corrupted and selfish soul that spirals an individual down this path to darkness. Either way, whichever path leads you down this dark and unholy road, one thing is certain. Once led down this path of darkness, you are inevitably going to be surrounding yourself around battle-hungry killers and stone-hearted warriors who care only for seeking the glory of their dark gods and quest for apotheosis. The leaders of these packs are known as champions of chaos. These individuals, above all else, are the most dedicated to their cause, having willingly sold out their humanity and soul for the gaze of their dark gods. These men will slaughter in their name and corrupt those around them for their own selfish ambitions. With this gaze, however, a fine line must be walked, because it only takes one gift too many or one mistake to end up a chaos spawn. A guttural reminder to those around them that failure and shortcomings have their consequences. When hordes of these brutal warriors come together and pour out of the northern wastes, most scholars and soldiers will feel dread at their core, knowing that they are about to bear witness to a chaos incursion. With these incursions, not only does it amass warriors clad in Baroque armor, nor does it only bring tribes of marauders with darkness etched upon their flesh. It brings the most harrowing of all, the realm of chaos itself, bleeding its corruption forever outward until the lands around it are consumed by anarchy and misrule. Join me as we glimpse at the dark path and bear witness to what can only be described as the Warriors of Chaos. This series will contain 2 parts. The one you are watching today will be an introduction to the lore, based off the 8th edition army book. The second part will be dissecting the profiles and how they played on the tabletop. In the future, I will dive into the lores and break them down individually because they have some extensive backgrounds. These videos are to familiarize ourselves with the lore and factions of the Old World setting. So continuing forward, to talk about chaos would be to talk about time itself. The beginning of our story will begin with the Old Ones. The Old Ones were responsible for seeding life on the world. This power went beyond creating life itself, however. It branched into interdimensional travel. For them to achieve this, they had to travel by gateways. They established these gateways on each pole of the Old World. At this time, behind the portal lay a realm of pure flux. So vast was this flux that it was able to connect every point in the universe. Though this plane would have no substance as you and I would understand it, it did harbor cosmic beings and creatures that could merely be thought into existence. This parallel universe acts as a mirror to all the hopes, dreams, impulses, rage, and other emotions that are made up in the minds of sentient life in the Old World. The strongest of these emotions will continue to build upon itself, taking shape and growing until the roiling seas of passion attain sentience. These sentient beings are known as the Gods of Chaos. These gods of chaos can manifest and grow in such supreme and dark power to be able to influence the mortals on the other end of the veil. These gods would be the Old Ones' undoing. The great cataclysm occurred out of the Old Ones' ignorance to what was happening beyond the veil, and it was in this ignorance that the chaos gods would be heard. With a shattering explosion, the Old Ones' polar gateway would explode, causing them to shatter and collapse. This brought the Old Ones to ruin as they looked on to see their eldritch machinery raining down from the heavens like a hailstorm, except this hail would become known as Warpstone. This Warpstone was undiluted magic and change given raw form. So much and such large amounts were created that an entire moon was given birth, that which is known today as Morslid. Out of the void that stood where the gateways once were poured out the sorcerous winds of magic. Alongside these winds flowed warp dust, corrupting and changing nature to its very core. This event caused mutations in every living thing that came into contact, and that is where the monsters of the world were bred from. As the portals collapsed, the Old Ones disappeared, no one knowing if they were made extinct or were able to escape with their life and culture intact. Some scholars think that a terrible conflict that ensued cost them their lives. However, there is no way to be certain of anything. There was, however, one thing we could be certain about. The world would never again be able to return to what it was, and would be forced to carry on with this perversion. Now that we have explained the very birth of chaos, we must ask ourselves the question, when would chaos be worshipped and followed, and by who would follow and worship such a dark entity? It is unfortunately with man that chaos would find such a follower, for there is a duality in the relationship between the worshippers and the dark gods. See, for the dark gods they desire mortal champions above all else, for it is within their choice to walk this dark path of chaos. These choices, actions, emotions are fuel for the chaos gods to burn through. This choice goes far beyond the nature of their demon hosts and monsters. for where they follow by nature or design. For the mortals, their gifts of chaos can prove to be quite valuable, with the pinnacle being immortality. Only through total devotion to their patron god can a mortal attain immortality. With this dark pact between man and God are the gods able to assail the world with their warriors of chaos and fight their never-ending war. Since the fall of the Old Ones, chaos has waged war to bring the world to ruin. Countless lives have been spent, kingdoms brought to ruin, and whole cities erased from existence. When the powers of chaos begin to stir, their champions and their followers are sent to war. The realm of chaos swells and expands over the land, and their glory-hungry champions must muster their force and begin to descend the north, bringing with them ruin and suffering on a scale that is unimaginable. Anyone who attempts to stand in their way will be laid low, for there are few warriors who can stand between the means of such dark power. With all this chaos, there is a point to it. For these warriors work to bring about the end times, and with it allow the realm of chaos to swallow the world whole. The men who dwell in the Northlands are quite barbarous and feral. Although their appearance is that of a normal man, that is where the similarities end. The men of the North prostrate themselves to uncaring gods and live a far harsher life than those of their kind who live in settled lands. Living this altogether harsher life has made them more primitive and superstitious as well. Due to this lifestyle, the tribes of the North are bloodthirsty and fierce warriors. War is their natural state, and through war they forge their martial prowess and strength in battle. Only when chaos is ascendant and a campaign of slaughter is about to be carried out will they stop their disputes and come together and fight as a marauding horde under the banner of such an awe-inspiring champion of ruin. When not waging bloody war, you may find these tribes are nomadic, having no border but the horizon to hold them back. Although this may lead to conflicts when running into another tribe who has no boundaries as well, it is a way of life for these tribes. These tribes know no nationality or allegiance beyond their immediate tribe, and within these tribes they hold their own beliefs and culture. There are 4 major peoples of the Northmen: the Tong, Norskin, Hung, and Kurgan. The Hung are revered as the greatest horsemen in the North, and they are well deserving of the sobriquet. However, if it's one thing all the tribes consist of, it's their superstitions. They believe in omens, portents, and signs in the sky, and this is just a glimpse of their ideology. It is not uncommon to see a warrior etch a rune into his flesh or carry a rabbit's foot. The higher in status will be found with a talisman of high esoteric value. All these little trinkets will grant the bearer with a sense of their god's touch. A marauder holding a dried tongue may find natural resistance to plague, while a warrior with a flesh-hound tooth may find himself getting some extra courage as the battle wages on. Whether this is a sign of their god's favor or just luck, we will never know. For every Northman, the ambition lies the same: fight in battle, gain glory, ascend the unholy path of apotheosis. It's a journey that is extremely risky, however the reward pays off well, if one can walk the tightrope. To those who find favor in a particular god are then marked by that god, that puts them one step closer to their end goal of apotheosis. Followers of the Pantheon are wise for respecting each god. However, with time, a champion may start gravitating towards a god that lines up with the champion's personality. If a warrior has martial prowess and relishes a battle fought with honor, one may turn to the chaos god Khorne. For another champion who trains his mind, body, soul to be a weapon on the battlefield, perfecting every which way of warfare, that warrior may find himself kneeling before Slaanesh. Once a warrior is granted a mark by their god, they are forever in their gaze. They will be rewarded for feats well done and punished for their shortcomings. I think something to note is not all rewards may be seen as such a great thing to be granted. It would be foolish to assume that gifts would only be applied in the physical sense as well. Sometimes the gods may even gift a champion a mighty mount, others may be awarded knowledge, and some may be confused with one another. The slogan of "be careful for what you wish for" applies here. Don't believe me? Ask Dr. Festus. Once these champions hold the gaze of their gods, they are forever searching to attain more glory, power, and influence. These champions will seek their rival deities' champions and challenge them to honor their god in holy combat. As their infamy and power grows, so too does their banner. Men devoted to the dark gods will willingly begin to follow this champion, as to carve out their own glory, riding their coattails. However, some followers have more nefarious reasons for following such a champion, like as to supplant them as the next greatest lord, with their daggers still dripping of the warm blood of the complacent champion. For in the ranks of warriors of chaos, simple brotherhood and oaths last only as long as they are needed to, and will not stand in the way of their path to darkness. With all this talk about gods, let us now put the name to their titles. Many of the Northmen worship the same god. Many worship other gods. Many worship demons of that god. However, there is a big 4 that you must look out for: Tzeentch, Khorne, Nurgle, and Slaanesh. These 4 gods constantly wage war to struggle for power and dominion over the realm of chaos. These gods will utilize their mortals, demons, and monsters in a war called the Great Game. Tzeentch, the oldest of the 4, is known as the Changer of Ways. Whenever you pray for your life to be different, or if you've ever desired your fate to have been different, then this would have been the god you were praying to. Tzeentch is almost as powerful as his brother Khorne. However, Tzeentch's power takes on a different form. Tzeentch is known for his aptitude and knowledge and his nefarious ways of deceit. There are thousands of plans, both small and large in scale, that he has in motion to be able to shift the Great Game to be forever in his favor. Nurgle, sometimes referred to as Grandfather Nurgle. Nurgle is the Lord of Decay, who holds dominion over corruption and morbidity. He is the father of plagues. Petrifactions are attracted to him. For in death there is rebirth. He is a god that deals in creating foul contagions that he will then unleash upon the mortal world, causing great affliction and pain. And in these moments his power will be at its highest. It is only when such a person is faced with such afflictions and pain, when they are at the cusp of death, and they need only reach out for Grandfather Nurgle and allow him to save them from such afflictions. However, as we have stated earlier, it behooves oneself to think of the consequences of their actions, for Nurgle will rapture you from pain, but then twist and contort your body into a living, walking vessel of contagion and disease that you will spread willingly, unaware of your pain because Nurgle has made you numb to it, destined to finish out your life, a perverted image of your former self, and forced to spread corruption and plague wherever you walk. Slaanesh, the youngest of the 4, neither male nor female. Slaanesh's seductive beauty can bind a mortal to eternal service. Known as the Lord of Excess and Pleasure, Slaanesh is the master of luxuries, passions, and sensual indulgences. However, the sweet side is mirrored by its darker nature, for Slaanesh also embodies cruel torments and despairing agony. Slaanesh is the patron of obsessive, and his attention is drawn to those who inflict pain and suffering to satisfy their own desires. Though Slaanesh is the youngest, his role in the Great Game is paramount to keep the other gods at bay, and soon it is rumored that Slaanesh's power will continue to grow and surpass that of his brothers. Khorne, the Blood God, the Lord of Murder and Bloodshed, the God of War, the living embodiment of anger. When he bellows, his rage shakes the multiverse. This god, who is rage incarnate, is seated upon a throne of brass, atop an ever-growing mountain of skulls that protrudes out of a sea of blood and splintered bones. The remains of those who have been laid low by his more than war-hungry champions. Khorne is the god of warriors, and his gaze is drawn to the bloodiest battles and gory displays of martial skill. Khorne is the most powerful of the 4. His chief rival is Tzeentch because of his coward ways of magic and deceit. Furthermore, his most hated sibling is Slaanesh, whose excesses are an affront to his martial pride. Even so, he is still able to put his differences aside when push comes to shove. The realms of chaos. To discern or talk about such a place is to embrace madness and forego sanity. Even time itself can be slowed or sped forward. A single step could take 100 years, while a mile takes a single second. These are the reasons only a madman will consider journeying into the realm of chaos, or a person who can no longer satiate their thirst in the mortal world, and seeks greatness beyond their status. In the chaos waste, what looks like a tree is a skeleton contorted to resemble a dead tree. Howling madness lies in the wind, and blood-curdling screams appear from nowhere in the distance. It's not uncommon to see phantom armies squaring off and slaughtering each other over and over again, replaying their last known role in this life. When one is to breathe air, they are only in taking magic. The dangers of this land are not solely restricted to Mother Nature, but to the monsters that roam the lands, as well as the champions of chaos. For these champions of chaos lead their war bands seeking eternal glory. The Northlands and Troll countries will be discussed in their respective videos with Throg and Wulfric the Wanderer. For now, this is an introduction to the Warriors of Chaos. Join me for part 2, where we do the unit breakdowns and how they played on the tabletop on Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. As we progress through the armies, be sure to look out for polls and vote on what character you'd like me to talk about. Until next time, everyone, I will catch you later. Peace.